It's Canada Day, everybody! Yay! Well, I mean, it's not Canada Day today, but tomorrow is Canada Day. As I am recording this, tomorrow will be Canada Day, and then I will upload this on Canada Day. So, for you, it's Canada Day. For me, Canada Day is tomorrow. But this is for you. Hooray! It's Canada Day! Yay! It's Canada Day, and it's really fun. Anyway, to celebrate Canada Day, I am going to be reading the entire history of Canada. Why? I have no clue. I feel like it, so I'm gonna do it. Okay, we're here on the site. This is Discover Canada, Canada's history. Let's go. I'm gonna start with the Aboriginal peoples. When Europeans explored Canada, they found all regions occupied by native peoples they called Indians, because the first explorers thought they had reached the East Indies. The native people lived off the land, some by hunting and gathering, others by raising crops. The Huron-Wendat of the Great Lakes region, like the Iroquois, were farmers and hunters. The Cree and Dean of the Northwest were hunter-gatherers. The Sioux, I believe, were nomadic, following the bison herd. The Inuit lived off the Arctic wildlife. West Coast native preserved by fish by drying and smoking. Warfare was common among Aboriginal groups as they competed for land, resources, and prestige. Okay. Alright. The arrival of European traders, missionaries, soldiers, and colonists changed the native way of life forever. Large numbers of Aboriginals died of European diseases to which they lacked immunity. However, Aboriginals and Europeans formed strong economic, religious, and military bonds in the first 200 years of coexistence, which laid the foundations of Canada. Alright, so what did we get from that? We got from the Europeans were once nice to the natives, and then they became total dickwads. Alright, second page, the first Europeans. The Vikings from Iceland, who colonized Greenland 1,000 years ago, also reached Labrador and the island of Newfoundland. The remains of their settlement, are a World Heritage Site. European explorations began in earnest in 1497 with the expedition of John Cabot, who was the first to draw a map of Canada's east coast. Oh, good for him. John Cabot, an Italian immigrant to England, was the first to map Canada's Atlantic shore, setting foot on Newfoundland or Cape Breton Island in 1497, and claiming the newfound land for England. English settlement did not begin until 1610. Okay, so the English, what is going on? Why can't I? Sorry about that. The app was broken or something. I don't really know. Anyway, so as I was saying, the English or the Europeans, they no. Yeah, no. They claimed it in 1497, but they didn't settle it until 200 years later. Alright. Exploring a river, naming Canada. Alright. Between 1534 and 1542, Jacques Cartier, made 3 voyages across the Atlantic, claiming the land for King Francis I of France. Cartier heard 2 captured guides speak the Iroquois word Kanata. Kanata, meaning village. Canada, Kanata, I get it now. By the 1550s, the name of Canada began appearing on maps. Ooh, so that's how That's how we got our name. Canada. Ooh. Royal New France. Oh, New France. I know about New France. I know about New France. I had a little too much sugar this morning. In 1604, the first European settlement north of Florida was established by French explorers Pierre de Monts and Samuel de Champlain. Yes. First on Saint Croix. Bro, fuck the French for making such a hard language to pronounce. Island. In present-day Maine. Then at Port Royal in Acadia, present-day Nova Scotia, in 1608, Champlain built a fortress at what is now Quebec City. The colonists struggled against the harsh climate. Champlain allied the colony with Algonquin. Jorge? Algonquin. Montagnice, and Huron. Historic enemies of the Iroquois, a confederation of 5, later 6, First Nations who battled with the French settlements for a century. The French and the Iroquois made peace in 1701. Good. The French and Aboriginal people collaborated in the vast fur trade economy, driven by the demand for beaver pelts in Europe. Outstanding leaders like John Talon, Bishop Laval, and Court Frontenac built a French empire in North America that reached from the Hudson Bay to the Gulf of Mexico. Big empire. From left to right, Count Frontenac refused to surrender Quebec to the English in 1690, saying, "My only reply will be from the mouths of my cannons." Pierre Le Moyne, Sir d'Iberville, was a great hero of New France, winning many victories over the English, from James Bay in the north to Nevis in the Caribbean. In the late 17th and early 18th centuries, Sir Guy Carleton, Lord Dorchester, as governor of Quebec, defended the rights of the Canadians, defeated the American military invasion of Quebec, and there was? Wait, America didn't exist back then, though. 1775. Hold on. $1775? Should have paid attention to oversimplified, goddammit. Whatever. And supervised the Loyalist migration to Nova Scotia and Quebec in 1782 to 1783. Alright, that was a long one. So the French had a big empire, and then they lost it all to the British. Okay, the next page, struggle for a continent. Okay, struggle for a continent, let's go. In 1670, King Charles II of England granted the Hudson Bay Company exclusive trading rights over the watershed draining into the Hudson Bay. For the next 100 years, the company competed with Montreal-based traders, the skilled and courageous men who traveled by canoe. By canoe were called voyagers, and the boys. and formed strong alliances with First Nations. English colonies along the Atlantic seaboard, dating from the early 1600s, eventually became richer and more populous than New France. In the 1700s, France and Great Britain battled for control of North America. In 1759, the British defeated the French in the Battle of Plains of Abraham at Quebec City, marking the end of France's empire. No. The commanders of both armies, Brigadier James Wolfe and the Marquis de Montcalm were killed leading their troops in battle. Oh, that's so sad. Okay, so the French are gone now. They've been kicked out. Screw the French, the frog-eating troglodytes. They're gone. Alright, here we go. Province of Quebec. Wrong tab. Province of Quebec. Province of Quebec! Following the war, Great Britain renamed the colony the Province of Quebec. The French-speaking Catholic people, known as habitants, or Canadians with an E, they misspelled it, strove to preserve their way of life in the English-speaking, Protestant-ruled British Empire. I'm gonna take a break. I'm tired. Alright, I just got done with my walk. Now let's get back into it. A tradition of accommodation. To better govern the French Roman Catholic majority, the British Parliament passed the Quebec Act of 1774, one of the constitutional foundations of Canada. The Quebec Act accommodated the principles of British institutions to the reality of the province. It allowed religious freedom for Catholics and permitted them to hold public office, a practice not then allowed in Britain. The Quebec Act restored French civil law while maintaining British criminal law. Okay. United Empire Loyalists. In 1776, the 13 British colonies of to the south of Quebec declared independence and formed the United States. North America was again divided by more war. More than 40,000 people loyal to the crown, called Loyalists, fled the oppression of the American Revolution to settle in Nova Scotia and Quebec. Joseph Brant led thousands of Loyalists, Mohawk Indians, into Canada. The Loyalists came from Dutch, German, and British, Scandinavian, Aboriginal, and other origins, and from Presbyterian, Anglican, Baptist, Methodist, Jewish, Quaker, and Catholic religious backgrounds. Around 3,000 black loyalists, freed men, and slaves came north seeking a better life. In turn, in 1792, some black Nova Scotians who were given poor land moved on to establish Freetown. Sierra Leone! Freetown, Sierra Leone! What? We created Sierra Leone. The Canadians created Sierra Leone. Wait, so, hold on. Libya is America in Africa, because Libya was created by America, by Cameron. So Sierra Leone is Canada, but in Africa. Whoa. A new British colony for freed slaves. The beginnings of democracy. Democratic institutions developed gradually and peacefully. The first representative assembly was elected in Halifax, Nova Scotia. In 1758, Prince Edward Island followed in 1773. New Brunswick in 1785. The Constitutional Act of 1791 divided the province of Quebec into Upper Canada, later Ontario, which was mainly Loyalist, Protestant, and English speaking, and Lower Canada, later Quebec, heavily Catholic and French speaking. The act also granted to the Canadians. The act also granted to the Canadas, for the first time, legislative assemblies elected by the people. The name Canada also became official at this time and has been used ever since. The Atlantic colonies and the two Canadas were known collectively as British North America. Okay, that was a lot, but we read all it. So now Canada's a democracy. Amazing. Well, Canada hasn't been formed yet, but democracy in Canada is now a thing. Got it. Up next, the abolition of slavery. Slavery has existed all over the world, from Asia, Africa, and the Middle East to the Americas. The first movement to abolish the transatlantic slave trade emerged in the British Parliament in the late 1700s. In 1793, Upper Canada, led by Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe, a loyalist military officer, became the first province in the empire to move towards abolition. In 1807, the British Parliament prohibited the buying and selling of slaves, and in 1833 abolished slavery throughout the empire. Thousands of slaves escaped from the United States, followed the North Star, and settled in Canada via the Underground Railway. The Underground Railroad, a Christian anti-slave network. I'm pretty sure the Underground Railway isn't actually underground, or wasn't actually underground. It's like underground as in like top secret. Nobody knows. Yeah. Up next we have a growing economy. The first companies in Canada were formed during the French and British regimes and captured for the fur trade. The Hudson Bay Company, with French, British, and Aboriginal employees, came to dominate the trade in Northwest from Fort Grey, Winnipeg, and Fort Edmonton to Fort Langelier near Vancouver. That's a big corporation. Yes. And Fort Victoria, trading posts that later became cities. The first financial institutions opened in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. The Montreal Stock Exchange opened in 1832. For centuries, Canada's economy was based mainly on farming and on exporting natural resources such as fur, fish, and timber, transported by roads, lakes, rivers, and canals. Okay, so now we have the economy. It's growing. The economy is doing really well, and it's all because of trade. So good for Canada. Oh, the War of 1812. This is going to be fun. After the defeat of Napoleon Bonaparte's fleet in the Battle of Trafalgar. This was taught to me by Oversimplified, but I just never learned how to pronounce the name. 1805. The Royal Navy ruled the waves. The British Empire, which included Canada, fought to resist Bonaparte's bid to dominate Europe. This led to America's resentment at British interference with their shipping, believing it would be easier to conquer Canada. The United States launched an invasion in June 1812. That's this month. Not as you're watching this, but it's June 30th. The Americans were mistaken. Canadian volunteers and First Nations, including Shawnee, led by Chief Tecumseh. I've heard of Tecumseh. Tecumseh was a good guy. Supported British soldiers in Canada's defense. In July, Major General Sir Isaac Brock captured Detroit, but was killed while defending against an American attack at Queenston Heights, near Niagara Falls. A battle the Americans lost. In 1813, Lieutenant Colonel Charles D. Salaberry and 460 soldiers, mostly French Canadians, turned back 4,000 American invaders at south of Montreal. In 1813, the Americans burnt government houses and the Parliament buildings in York, now Toronto. In retaliation, in 1814, Major General Robert Ross led an expedition from Nova Scotia that burnt down the White House. Fuck yeah. Fuck the White House. And other public buildings in Washington, D.C. Rose died in battle soon afterwards and was buried in Halifax with full military honors. By 1814, the American attempt to conquer Canada had failed. The British paid for a costly Canadian defense system, included the citadels, at Halifax and Quebec City, the naval dry dock at Halifax, and Fort Henry at Kingston. Today, popular historic sites. The present-day Canada-U.S. border is partly an outcome of the War of 1812, which ensured that Canada would remain independent from the United States. There we go. So we kicked America's butt. America deserved it. They're assholes. And now, what's next? Rebellions. I've heard of the rebellions. It didn't work, though. In the 1830s, reformers in Upper and Lower Canada believed that progress toward full democracy was too slow. Some believed Canada should adopt American Republic values, or even try to join the United States. When armed rebellions occurred in 1837 and 1838 in the area outside of Montreal and in Toronto, the rebels did not have enough public support to succeed. They were defeated by British troops and Canadian volunteers. A number of rebels were hanged or exiled. Some exiles later returned to Canada. Okay. Lord Durham, an English reformer sent to report on the rebellions, recommended that Upper and Lower Canada be merged and given responsible government. This meant that the ministers of the crown must have the support of a majority of the elected representatives in order to govern. Controversially, Lord Durham also said that the quickest way for the Canadians to achieve the progress was to assimilate into English-speaking Protestant culture. This recommendation demonstrated a complete lack of understanding of French Canadians, who sought to uphold the distinct identity of French Canada. Some reformers included Sir Etienne Pascal Taché, and Sir George Etienne Cartier, later became fathers of Confederation, as did a former member of the voluntary government military in Upper Canada, Sir John A. Macdonald. Okay, first ever Prime Minister, made a little bit of a cameo here. I stuttered a lot there. My brain isn't working. I think I need some water. Alright. Oh my god. Responsible government. In 1840, Upper and Lower Canada were united as the province of Canada. Reformers such as Sir Louis Hippolyte. Reformers such as Sir Louis Hippolyte La Fontaine and Robert Baldwin, in parallel with Joseph Howe in Nova Scotia, worked with the British governors toward responsible government. The first British North American colony to attain full responsible government was Nova Scotia in 1847 to 1848. In 1848 to 1849, the governor of United Canada, Lord Elgin, with encouragement from London, introduced responsible government. This is a system that we have today. If the government loses a confidence vote, in the assembly, it must resign. I heard about that. I know about that too. La Fontaine, a champion of democracy and French language rights, became the first leader of responsible government in Canada. Okay, so now we're getting to the Confederation. This is when Canada became a country. This is when Canada actually declared independence. Here we go. Confederation. From 1864 to 1867, representatives of Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and the province of Canada, with British support, worked together to establish a new country. These men are known as the Fathers of Confederation. They created two levels of government, federal and provincial. Alright, let's hear about it. The old province of Canada was split into two provinces, Ontario and Quebec, which, together with New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, formed the new country called the Dominion of Canada. Each province would elect its own legislature and have control of such areas as education and health. The British Parliament passed the British North America Act in 1867. The Dominion of Canada was officially born on July 1st, 1867. See, the day you're watching this, probably, if the day this video was uploaded, will be this day. Not 1867, though. It's going to be this day, 2026. Not this day. You get it. Until 1982, July 1st was celebrated as Dominion Day to commemorate the day that Canada became a self-governing dominion. Today, it is officially known as Canada Day. Fuck yeah. From sea to sea, I learned about this in history. Sir Leonard Tilley, an elected official and father of Confederation from New Brunswick, suggested the term Dominion of Canada in 1864. He was inspired by Psalm 72 in the Bible, which refers to dominion from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth. This phrase embodied the vision of building a powerful, united, wealthy, and free country that spanned the continent. The title was written into the Constitution and was officially used for about 100 years and remains a part of our heritage today. Boom. This is the expansion of the Dominion. So in 1867, we got Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. These were the first provinces of Canada. Then in 1870, we had Manitoba, a new province, and then the Northwest Territories were formed. The Northwest Territories, I'm pretty sure, were huge. Hold on. Northwest Territories, 1870. If you look at that, this was all the Northwest Territory. And now look at it now. so weak and pathetic. It's so sad. I guess this is from Reddit, but like, look at this. This guy compared to this guy. It truly is very, very sad. I got distracted. Like, does not want to clear up. 1871, British Columbia. 1873, Prince Edward Island. 1880, transfer of the Arctic territories to the Northwest Territories. Yukon Territory, 1898. 1905, Alberta, Saskatchewan. 1949, Newfoundland and Labrador. That's when Newfoundland and Labrador were annexed by Canada. And in 1999, none of it was created. Did you know? In the 1920s, some believe that the British West Indies, British territories in the Caribbean Sea, yes, I did actually know that. Jamaica, the Bahamas, Trinidad, and one of the big ones was the Turks and Caicos. That was a big one. Canada really wanted, no, not Canada. For some reason, the Turks and Caicos really wanted the Turks and Caicos to be Canadian. It wasn't really Canada. Canada never really wanted that. Alright. John A. Macdonald, Canada's first Prime Minister, in 1867. Sir John A. Macdonald, a father of Confederation, became Canada's first Prime Minister. Born in Scotland on January 11th, 1815, he came to Upper Canada as a child. He was in Kingston, right? He was a lawyer in Kingston. Genius. Ontario. A gifted politician and with a colorful personality. Parliament has recognized January 11th as Sir John A. Macdonald Day. His portrait is on the $10 bill. Bill. And then that was Queen Elizabeth or someone like that. Kingston was also the capital, I'm very sure, of Canada until it was moved to Ottawa. It should have been Montreal, but whatever. Okay. Next one. Challenge in the West. Alright, here we go. Challenge in the West. When Canada took over the vast northwest region from the Hudson Bay Company in 1969, the 12,000 Métis of the Red River were not consulted. In response, Louis Riel led an armed uprising and seized Fort Garry, the territorial capital. Canada's future was in jeopardy. Damn it. How could the Dominion reach from sea to sea if it could not control the interior? Ooh. It's crazy. Ottawa sent soldiers to retake Fort Garry in 1870. Riel fled to the United States and Canada established a new province, Manitoba. Riel was elected to Parliament but never took his seat. Later, as Métis and Indian rights were again threatened by westward settlement, a second rebellion in 1885 in present-day Saskatchewan led to Riel's trial and execution for high treason. A decision that was strongly opposed in Quebec. Oh, dang, I wasn't using my mic! Sorry about that. Present-day Saskatchewan. A decision was strongly opposed by Quebec. Riel is seen by many as a hero, a defender of Métis rights, and father of Manitoba. After the first Métis uprising, Prime Minister Macdonald established the Northwest Mounted Police. I've heard of this! In 1873, to pacify the West and assist in negotiations with the Indians, the NWMP founded Fort Macleod, and other centers that today are cities and towns. Regina became its headquarters. Today, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police are the national police force and one of Canada's best-known symbols. Some of Canada's most colorful heroes, such as General Sir Sam Steele, came from the ranks of Mounties. Okay, what's next? This is next. I'm going to read that, and I'm going to do railway, C to C, the Trans-Canadian Railway. Let's go. Okay, how much is left? I want to see. Okay, moving more. First of all, oh! Wait, what? Oh my god, we're almost done. Wait, why does it stop at the Second World War? This is stupid. It only goes to the Second World War. God damn you. Anyway, Fort Garry. In 1863, the flag of the Hudson's Bay Company flew over Western Canada for 200 years before Confederation. Sir Sam Steele, a great frontier hero, mounted policeman, and soldier of the Queen Métis resistance, Gabriel Dumont was the Métis' greatest military leader. A railway from sea to sea. Trans-Canadian Railway. Let's go. British Columbia joined Canada in 1871 after Ottawa promised to build a railway to the west coast. On November 7th, 1885, a powerful symbol of unity was completed when Donald Smith, not pronouncing that, the Scottish-born director of the Canadian Pacific, like the ocean line, like the ocean, like the big ocean, Pacific. The Canadian Pacific Railway (CPR) drove last spike. The project was financed by British and American investors and built by both European and Chinese labor. Afterwards, the Chinese were Oh yeah! Canada really hated Chinese people for some reason. It was really weird. They hated Asians. I don't really know why. The Chinese were subjugated to discrimination, including the head tax, a race-based entry fee. The government of Canada apologized in 2006 for this discriminatory policy. After many years of heroic work, the CPR's Ribbons of Steel fulfilled a national dream. Boom! Look at that. We're being racist and we're completing a railway. Hell yeah! Oh, and yes, by the way, I do know that it is echoing. Moving westward. Canada's economy grew and became more industrialized during the economic boom of the 1890s and early 1900s. 1 million British and 1 million Americans immigrated to Canada at this time. Sir Wilfrid Laurier became the first French-Canadian Prime Minister since Confederation and encouraged immigration to the West. He portrayed... What is portrayed? It's not a word. His portrait is on the $5 bill. Oh, that's what that guy is. The railway made it possible for immigrants, including 170,000 Ukrainians, 115,000 Poles, and tens of thousands from Germany, France, Norway, and Sweden to settle in the West before 1914 and developed a thriving agriculture sector. Boom! We're booming! We're doing so well! Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, it's so long! I got this, bro. The First World War. Oh no. Most Canadians were proud to be a part of the British Empire. Over 7,000 volunteered to fight in the South African War, 1899 to 1902. Popular known as the Boer War. The Boer War, yes. I know the Boer War. And over 260 died. In the 1900s. In 1900, Canadians took part in the Battle of Paardeberg? Paardeberg. Okay. And Lily Frontier. Victories that strengthened national pride in Canada. When Germany attacked Belgium and France in 1914 and Britain declared war, Ottawa formed the Canadian Expeditionary Force, later the Canadian Corps. More than 600,000 Canadians served in the war, most of them volunteers, out of the total population of 8 million. That's fucking insane. That is crazy. 600,000 out of 8 million. Hold on. You need to tell me that a nation of this size, a nation this big, had only 8 million? That is blowing my mind. That is blowing my mind. What are we saying, bro? Oh my god. Okay. On the battlefield, the Canadians proved to be tough, innovative soldiers. Canada shared in the tragedy and triumph of the Western Front. The Canadian Corps captured Vimy Ridge and Vimy Ridge in April 1917, with 10,000 killed or wounded, securing the Canadians' reputation for valor. I don't know that was a word. As the shock troops of the British Empire. One Canadian officer said, "It was Canada from the Atlantic to the Pacific on parade. In those few minutes, I witnessed the birth of a nation." Ooh. April 9th is celebrated as Vimy Day. Regrettably, from 1914 to 1920, Ottawa interned over 8,000 former Austro-Hungarian subjects, mainly Ukrainian men, as enemy aliens. In 24 labor camps across Canada, even though Britain advised against the policy. So we're creating concentration camps. Great. Love to see it, Canada. Fuck you, you asshole. In 1918, under the command of General Sir Arthur Currie, Canada's greatest soldier, the Canadian Corps advanced alongside the French and British troops in the last 100 days. These included the victorious Battle of Amiens on August 8th, 1918, which the Germans called the Black Day for the German army, followed by Arras, Canal du Nord, Cambrai, and Mons. With Germany and Austria's surrender, the war ended with on an armistice on November 11th, 1918. I don't think it truly ended until 1919, though. 1919 was when it truly ended. In total, 60,000 Canadians were killed and 170,000 wounded. The war strengthened both national and imperial pride, particularly in English Canada. It's interesting that they never mentioned the war crimes committed by the Canadians in the First World War. That is something that I find very interesting, because we were assholes in both world wars. We loved, and still love, committing war crimes every day. So close. So close, so close, so close. Congratulations to the woman. Women get to vote. At the time of Confederation, the vote was limited to property-owning adult white males. This was common in most democratic countries at the time. The effort by women to achieve the right to vote is known as the women's suffrage movement. Its founder in Canada was Dr. Emily Stu, the first Canadian woman to practice medicine in Canada. In 1916, Manitoba became the first province to grant voting rights to women. See, Manitoba has got to be the most progressive province ever. They just They're on their shit. Manitoba is a good province. Shout out to you if you live in Manitoba. My favorite province is Manitoba. In 1917, thanks to the leadership of women such as Dr. Stu and other suffragettes. Suffragettes? That's a word? Okay. Suffragists, the federal government of Sir Robert Borden gave women the right to vote in federal elections. First to nurses at the battlefront, then to women who were related to men in active wartime service. In 1918, most Canadian female citizens aged 21 and over were granted the right to vote in federal elections. Yay! In 1921, Agnes Macphail, you failed, Mac. You failed, Mac. Screw you, Mac. Fucking piece of shit. A farmer and teacher became the first woman MP. Member of Parliament. Okay, good. Due to the work of There's Casgrain and others, Quebec granted women the right to vote. Quebec, bro. Quebec. Bro, what are you doing, bro? Quebec, bro. Why? Why, bro? Bro. Begin between the wars. Let's go. After the First World War, the British Empire evolved into a free association of states known as the British Commonwealth of Nations. Canada remains a leading member of the Commonwealth to this day, together with our successor states of the Empire, such as India, Australia, New Zealand, and several African and Caribbean nations. India, just leave, bro. Why are you in the Commonwealth? Just leave. Please? Like, for you. For your sake, India. Cut all ties with the British. Because they're assholes. They enslaved your people. They stole your resources. You're broke because of them. And you're gonna join their alliance? No. Leave. For your sake, India. Not for me, not for Canada, not for the Commonwealth. For you. For you, buddy. You deserve it. You've been through a lot. Please leave. The Roaring Twenties were boom times. The prosperity for business and low unemployment. The stock market crashed. Oh, that wasn't very long. That wasn't very long. The Great Depression has already started. The stock market crashed The stock market crashed in 1927. In 1929, however, led to the Great Depression, or the Dirty 30s. Oh, unemployment reached 20. God damn, it was that bad? In 1933, and many businesses were wiped out. Farmers in Western Canada were hit the hardest. This is making me sad. I'm skipping this. The D-Day invasion. June. Wait, no. Maybe we recover. Hopefully. Although there were droughts, that's bad. There was growing demand for the government to create a social safety net with minimum wages, a standard of work week, and programs such as unemployment, insurance, the Bank of Canada, a central bank to manage the money supply, and bring stability to the financial system, was created in 1934. Immigration dropped, and many refugees were turned away, including... Oh, Fuck us for doing that. God. Please. I want to go. I want to live. I don't want my family to die. Please? No. You're going back to Germany. Fuck us for doing that to the poor Jewish people. The D-Day invasion, June 6th, 1944. In order to defeat Nazism and fascism, the Allies invaded Nazi-occupied Europe. Normandy. Canadians took part in the liberation of Italy in 1943 to 1944. In the epic invasion of Normandy in northern France on June 6, 1944, known as D-Day, 15,000 Canadian troops stormed and captured Juno Beach from the German army. A great national achievement shown in this painting by Orville Fischer. You know what we did? We also committed a bunch of war crimes. We made sure those Germans never acted like a fucking Nazi asshole again. Oh, we made sure of that. Oh, we made sure of that. Fuck the Germans for doing that, you little assholes. Approximately 1 in 10 Allied soldiers on D-Day. Oh, was Canadian. Oh, nice. The Canadian Army liberated the Netherlands in 1944 and 1945 and helped force the German surrender of May 8th, 1945, bringing to an end 6 years. Bringing to an end of 6 years of war. There we go. It's the last page, everybody. Are we excited? I am. I'm very excited. The Second World War. The Second World War began in 1939 when Adolf Hitler, the National Socialist Party of Germany, Nazi dictator of Germany, invaded Poland and conquered much of Europe. Canada joined with its democratic allies to fight in the fight to defeat tyranny by force of arms. Yes, more than 1 million Canadians and Newfoundlanders. But yes, I know, Newfoundland was separate, served in the Second World War out of a population of 11.5 million. Why were we so weak and pathetic? 11.5 million, god damn it. This was a high proportion and of these 44,000 were killed. The Canadians fought bravely and suffered losses in the unsuccessful defense of Hong Kong. From attack by Imperial Japan, and in a failed raid on Nazi-controlled TP on the coast of France. The Royal Canadian Air Force took part in the Battle of Britain and provided a high proportion of Commonwealth aircrew in bombers and fighter planes over Europe. Moreover, Canada contributed more to the Allied air effort than any other Commonwealth country, with over 1,300 Allied air crew trained in Canada under the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan. The Royal Canadian Navy saw its finest hour in the Battle of the Atlantic, protecting convoys from merchant ships against German submarines. Canada's merchant navy helped to feed, clothe, and resupply Britain. At the end of the Second World War, Canada had the third largest navy in the world. How? No, seriously, how? Where did we get... What? Where did we get that, bro? Where did we get that? In the Pacific War, Japan invaded the Aleutian Islands, attacked a lighthouse on Vancouver Island. What? Japan did that? No, fuck you, Japan. Talking about I never did anything. Yes, you did. We know you don't teach your students about that. But you are an asshole. Fuck you. Launched fire balloons over BC And the prairies. And the prairies. Fire balloons? What are we talking about? What are fire balloons? God. And grossly maltreated Canadian prisoners of war captured at Hong Kong. Oh, what? Screw you, Japan. Fuck you. Japan surrendered on August 14th, 1945. The end of the 4 years of war in the Pacific. Listen, Japan didn't deserve the nuke. But all I'm saying is Japan's an asshole. Regrettably, the state of war and public opinion in BC led to the forcible relocation of Canadians of Japanese origin. Oh yeah, by the federal government and the sale of their property without compensation. This was bad. I didn't like this. Fuck you, Canada, for doing that. And also America, you did that too. Don't just sit there like you didn't do anything. This occurred even though the military and RCMP told Ottawa that they posed little danger to Canada. The government of Canada apologized in 1888 for wartime wrongs and compensated the victims. But we're not done. Oh, we're not done at all. Because it's like two more events. Newfoundland got annexed, and then Canada declared full independence in 1982. Yes, 1982 was when they actually became a fully independent country away from Britain, separated from Britain. And even then, they weren't completely separated from Britain. You know why? Because we're not completely separated from Britain now. 2026. We are still somewhat dependent on Britain. Very unfortunate, but God damn it, I did it. I'm proud of myself. If you watched this far, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And this was a massive challenge for me because I have dyslexia. So everything was like dancing and shit. Like look, hold on. What was it? What was it again? Like all these guys, I thought it was like reverse for some reason. I read this. I read it like this. I read it this way. I don't know. But we're done now. So goodbye. Happy Canada Day. And bye.